Hey folks, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to talk to you. Uh, I was going to talk about the pole and the staff of the Lord. What pole? Okay. And what do we mean by the staff of the Lord? We know that, well, let's say a staff is a stick or something that people used to walk with. It supported them. So the staff of the Lord supports the Lord. How? We say, well, it supports the Lord in keeping time. Yeah, keeping time. But now let's get back to the pole, okay? Now we see, or at least we used to, I guess we still do, there are children who dance around the maypole. That maypole that the kids dance around is the pole. The pole that goes through the earth, straight up to the sky. It's imaginary. It's an imaginary pole, okay? And it goes straight up to the sky to a star. And so the star sits atop the pole, okay? So we have, let's say, for example, the Christmas tree. We say, well, the Christmas tree is like a pole. It has, it's a pole. And we sometimes at Christmas, those who celebrate Christmas might put a star on top of the Christmas tree. That's the star on top of the pole. But the pole is actually, like I said, imaginary. The star isn't. The star is up there, okay? But the pole is imaginary, okay? So the kids who dance around the maypole have the maypole as a replica of this imaginary pole, okay? And so this is what this maypole represents, let's say. That imaginary pole. And the children who dance around this pole, well, in the mythology there are 7. Okay, 7 about the pole. Okay. And they represent those 7, which is 7 stars or constellations around the pole. Okay. But now we got to remember that mythology, whether it's astronomical mythology, mythology of the stars, etc., is representative of the human, what humans have done, what the humans can do. Now, okay. But the pole, okay, and the stars about the pole are represented to us in different ways. Okay. When we hear about or read about, let's say in that chapter of Revelations in the Bible, where they say that she, this great mother, etc., sits upon 7 beasts. She rode upon the 7 beasts, with 10 horns and all that. Well, these 7 beasts are the stars. It seemed like they might have taken a change for the worse. You know what I mean? In other words, for those glorious stars to be referred to as beasts, well, what happened? You know what I mean? And what happened to her? But we have the constellation Ursa Major. A constellation of 7 stars. Okay. And they go in a circle. They appear to go in a circle. Okay. Due to the movement of the earth. Give that appearance. Okay. And people even told time by the stars of Ursa Major. That's the Great Bear constellation. Originally called the Hippopotamus constellation. They changed the name, seemed like. Okay. But anyway, what happened? Why did the stars be considered as beasts? Well, they are, in the old mythology, they were the children of the mother, the great mother. When they say, well, yeah, they would go in a circle, apparently, it appeared like this, around the pole. Okay. And people told time about this traveling around the pole. They like the winter, the fall, the year, so forth and so on. They could look up at the stars, these stars, the pole stars, and tell about what time of year it was. Whether it's the planting season, the flood season, the harvest season, etc. You know what I mean? But then came along the sun, or the sun god. Okay? And so people also told time by the sun. Okay. So now, the stars around the pole and other stars like the star Sirius, okay, and time was told by them also, right? But now, there came a problem. It was discovered that these stars, including Sirius, the star Sirius, they called it Isis or Auset. No, Auses are the same. Isis is the Greek name. Auset is the African name, the Kimite name. So anyway, time wasn't being kept correctly by the stars. Like in Ursa Major, the Great Bear, her and her 7 children. And so they called them laggards, but they wasn't keeping time with the sun. You couldn't check with these stars in order to know whether the sun was on time. You could check with back and forth, make sure everything's in order. Okay. Because the stars wasn't keeping time relative to the sun, they weren't supporting the sun. So they were called all kind of names. They called it laggards and so forth and so on, and kicked them out of heaven. These were the ones that got kicked out of heaven because they weren't keeping time. And they called them all kind of names, hence the beasts. The 7 beasts upon which the mother rode. They kicked them out of heaven, give them bad names, etc. In Revelation. But not only in Revelation, in other scriptures too. Because they're supposed to be supporters of the sun god, hence his staff. So staff supports. But they fell by the wayside. They wasn't doing their job. And that's why they got kicked out of heaven. Okay. So we see now that the stars wasn't doing their job. But we have the god Shu. It's a Kemite god. Actually, I think it was a Nubian god. But he was a Kemite too. He supported the sun god also. But Shu was a solar god, but Shu was also the god of breathing force. So now we bring in the breath, our breathing into the picture. Okay? So now this might shed a little light, we say, on what's really going on here. The pole is representative, okay? It's astronomical mythology. Mythology is representative. Represent what? The pole that runs through the human being. The spinal canal. The spinal canal has a nerve plexus around and about it. And we have the seven, well, we have in the brain also, like the pineal gland, etc. You see. People could tell time when they do spiritual exercises by the stars. This is why keeping time was so important. They would have their festivals. The stars would tell them the time to have the festival. And having the festival also, people did their spiritual exercises, like yoga exercises, etc., which calls for breathing in certain exercises. So this is where the god Shu was supporter of the sun god. Okay. The sun god in the human being is the life force, his solar energy within him. So when the solar energy in the human being starts losing time as a result of some condition or something that a person may be going through, the god of breath, Shu, the staff of the sun, the supporter of the sun god within the human, okay, would manifest his activities by breathing exercises to keep that solar energy within us flowing properly. Because sometimes the human would fall into a state of depression or something. Things slow down within the person. But this breathing force, the support, the staff of the sun god would go into action. And through this breathing exercises would sort of liven the life force up, bring it back up to par, so that the sun within us wouldn't fall behind time. Now, in the stars of Ursa Major, the seven about the pole, used to tell the time when certain exercises should be done, certain seasons, at certain festivals, etc. But they fell behind in keeping time and were kicked out of heaven. So we know what the maypole represents, right? The pole, the imaginary pole of Earth that goes straight up to the star. Okay. So we have an idea about the pole and the staff of the Lord. The staff supports the Lord in us. Thank you, folks, and we'll talk to you again soon. And subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much, and bye.